in the movie Hook, when they're trying to identify Peter as, like, is this actually the Peter Pan that we know of? And um, so what do the pirates do? The pirates actually look at Peter's scars to identify him. Whereas the Lost Boys also have to identify him, and this little boy, he goes and he touches Robin Williams' face and he looks at his eyes. And this is so telling of how the difference between how adults identify each other versus children. Children identify you by who you are, right? He looks in Peter's eyes, he looks at, just the feeling and, the texture and that's kind of like how our kids identify us. They're not looking at us on our social class or how much money we make or whatever. They don't look at us. That you can be whatever flaw you think you have. Your kids will never notice it until they get older. But they, at the moment, at that young innocence, they don't care. They care about who you are. They want to be in your presence. They just want you as you are. They don't know how to look for imperfections. Whereas adults, with the pirates looking at Peter's scars and looking at, the different thing, his teeth, his what that shows is we identify each other based on what's outside of us, right? So what has happened to us, our traumas, our hardships, our accomplishments, our bank accounts, it kind of symbolizes the way they're looking at Pan by the scars is, we're identifying by what happened to you, versus the Lost Boys, they're looking at who Peter is. And I think that's so, gosh, it's such a huge point. It's probably one of my favorite scenes actually in that movie, is that part where that little boy says, "There you are, Peter," and it's, emotional music, but it is actually my favorite scene because it's this moment where Peter for the first time has been identified identified not by his job, his work, his life, his mistakes, his whatever. He just, somebody looked right at him and said, "There you are, I found you." And that is really the how we are found in this world, is when people see us for who we are. That's how we're spotted. That's when we feel seen. And so that's just a little bit on Peter Pan and Hook. I love those movies, and I think Jordan Peterson really, his small little commentary just had me digging and digging, and I loved it so much. But really, at the end of the movies, what I think the overall message is, we have to do better as fathers, to be there and be present for our children. And in order to be there for our children, we have to be careful with how much we're trying to take on in the world. That if the accomplishments of the world are outweighing our roles as fathers, then we're going to lose our kids.